Hey guys, what up? Welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to show you guys how I built this mansion for my chameleons. So just keep watching. What did you? She clawed my face. She's obsessed with red lips apparently. Hey, my lips, not a toy. So the first thing I did was I started gathering materials. So here's everything. Yeah, I'm writing this thing. And then I went to a local pet store, right, Babette? Well, I didn't take her with me, but I went and I thought of her while I was there. So it's like she was there if you think about it. So I went to my local pet store and I got UVB bulb and heat bulb. There's cats acting crazy in front of me right now. So in the video where I introduced you guys to my chameleons and everything, I mentioned that when I first brought them home, I had them set up in a very temporary, you know, not so pretty looking enclosure. Enclosure. Oh, her tail's in my ear. That didn't feel good in there. She's kind of looking like a hair accessory right now. So yeah, this is them. Honestly, my biggest inspiration for this entire build was nature. I didn't plan this, but a few days before I built, I went on a road trip to visit some family that lives kind of in the middle of nowhere. It was beautiful. Road trip time. Let me show you guys the scenery. It's like really pretty out here. There's like horses and cows. You guys see them? Bye. Never mind, I'll find someone like you.
¿Eso saltito?
Otra es la misma.
Es otro. It was pretty wild. So I tried to replicate a little bit of that in here. I actually went back again recently, like a week ago. It was completely different. You're in my boob and you're going lower. Can you come back up? First thing to figure out were the dimensions that I wanted this thing to be. So I knew that I wanted it pretty big, like ridiculously big for two little chameleons. You know, we got some spoiled chameleons here. That's just how I do things. So this is a lid that goes with my tubs that I keep some of my fish in. So these tubs that I keep some of my fish in come with lids. Obviously I don't use them. I have all these like lids just lying around. So the thing with chameleons is you have to spray their entire enclosure down. You know, you gotta really wet it. So I wanted something in the bottom to collect all the water. So I wanted this lid to fit nicely inside the enclosure in the bottom. So the length and the width of my enclosure is pretty much based on the lid. And then the height, I wanted this to be really tall. Once I had the dimensions all figured out, I started measuring and cutting everything. I'm not like a carpenter or like I don't know what I'm doing. If you're watching this and you see me doing something wrong, I'm sorry. So this isn't necessarily like a step-by-step tutorial video. I'm sure I did a few things wrong. This is more of a how I did this video. Just had to put a disclaimer there really quick. But I do know, like, I think you're supposed to drill before you put screws through wood, but you know, like, ain't nobody got time for that, so I didn't do that. But I mean, everything still worked out, so it's cool. Putting everything together, I kept pausing to make sure that the lid fit inside nicely. Like, in my mind, if the lid fit in there nicely, I was doing it right. So that was my process. To To be completely honest, the hardest part of building this was definitely the door. I basically made a frame that went inside the outer frame, like if that even makes any sense. And the tricky part was that it had to fit inside nicely, but not like tight, so that it would open and close easily. So here's the door hinges that I bought. So I originally only bought 2, but ended up using 3. They come with their own screws, that's nice, and then I just attached them. So after that was done, I attached both locks. Okay, pretty easy stuff, right? Not really, but so at this point I had some pieces of leftover wood, so I cut those to size and kind of used them as supports. In the end, these were so helpful when it was time to decorate and add the lights and stuff. They actually weren't in my original design plan, but now that everything's done, they're so important and so helpful. So I painted everything with black oil paint. So I used oil paint for 2 reasons. One, it's shiny, like it looks pretty. For years, I've been painting all my DIY pet enclosures in this black oil paint, and it seals the wood, it protects it from water. My enclosures outside that get rained on haven't taken any damage, and they're exposed to all the elements. Pretty impressive. So after everything was all nice and dry, it was finally time to start attaching the mesh. Ow, you're stabbing me, honey. What is life right now? Okay, come here. I'll give you a hand. Literally. I used like 2 boxes of staples almost. And yes, all 6 sides, including top and bottom, are covered in mesh. I wasn't gonna risk these little guys getting out. And then I painted all the staples that I used with the black oil paint to protect them from water exposure, basically. After this, I placed the cage where I wanted it to go. And then the fun part came. Like, I love decorating. So this was definitely my favorite part. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put these guys back in their enclosure. It's good to handle them, right? But not too much. I have oh my god, I'm a unicorn, you guys. He has horns and he's my unicorn horn. Like, what? So because I wanted this to be really like naturally-ish, I used a lot of elements from the outdoors, but everything is sterilized. I poured boiling water on all the branches and vines and stuff. I used these like little hook thingamabobbers. Those are awesome. I ended up using all the hooks from the pack. Pretty much all the branches and the vines and stuff that I put in there are zip tied to these hooks. Like
they not going anywhere, okay?
I mean, really, I'm just playing around with branches here. At this point, I really liked how this was turning out. And to kind of make it look a little bit more alive, I added fake plant leaves around. But I didn't want this to be like all fake plants. So what I ended up doing was I hung real plants, like potted plants. Another thing I did was I used sewing thread to secure some plants down. don't keep chameleons and don't know this, chameleons don't drink still water. So I just kind of put this together out of nowhere. So I'm using a big soda bottle. I cut the top off and inverted it. And oh my god, look at all these fur balls. I had this old mini water fountain pump with a light lying around, so I figured I'd use it here. So I wanted to include some type of mechanical filtration in this thing. I didn't want my chameleons drinking icky water. So I'm using quilting batting and gravel. So I placed a small piece of quilting batting and I put a bunch of gravel over it. Then I placed the mini water fountain pump inside with the hose hanging out. I added water inside and then I just placed it inside of the enclosure. So for some reason, I don't have any footage of me securing this inside of the enclosure.
I don't know what happened.
I just placed it in that thick trunk thingamabobber and then I zip tied it. And then I guided the hose over to the tallest branch in there and zip tied that in place. And then I just kind of made it look pretty. So I took this like fake plastic plant and zip tied that to the output of the hose. That way it's like a continuous drip basically. The water comes out, it flows down through the gravel and the quilting batting and gathers again in the bottom of the container, and then the pump pumps it back up, and you know, it's like a cycle, it's like a water cycle. So all I do with this is every few days I add more water, you know, because it evaporates and stuff. So chameleons drink droplets of water. So I really like how this fake plant distributes the water evenly into little droplets instead of like a full-on gush of water. So yeah, this ended up working out pretty well for something I didn't really plan to do. So I'm using this like leaf litter in there that I baked, sterilized. I really like how this looks. It looks like the floor of a forest. So after this, I just added my DIY reptile lights. I know I haven't shown you guys yet how to make them, but the video on that is coming up. So we're pretty much done.
Finally.
Last thing I did before adding the chameleons in was I wet everything down. And at this point, I finally added the chameleons in there. And I mean, what a difference from that enclosure to this enclosure, right? much it. That's how I build this mansion for my chameleons. I want to really quick clarify that my logic with this was I have the space. When I was gonna build this, I realized building an enclosure half the size of this or a third of the size of this would have cost me pretty much the same, and it would have taken the same amount of time. You know, like go big or go home, right? Except I am home, so that doesn't really apply here. So yeah, that's why this happened. And also, I'm keeping a male and a female together. I wanted to give them a really big enclosure so that they can get away from each other. We have reached the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something, then go ahead and give this a big fat thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, then go ahead and do that so that you don't miss any new videos. Make sure you have your notification icon turned on so that you get a notification every time I upload a new video. Let me know down below what you think of this entire build. Love y'all. Bye.